Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
It's Throat Punch Thursday, bitch.
Oh, gotta love Throat Punch Thursday. This is a day in which we can call it Full Contact Thursday, whatever it is. We're here to basically, make those with whom we disagree, in particular those on the left, we're here to make them pay. We're going to have a good conversation. And once again, we do not advocate violence on this show, but we also don't necessarily fret if bad things happen to those we dislike or whatever. Just kidding. It is all in fun. We like Throat Punch Thursday because we like playing that video because it is funny. Anyway, Mike is going to be unavailable today, so it's just going to be us. So I'll encourage you, if you are watching this program live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, go ahead and comment. I'll be following your comments. If I find them to be interesting, we'll go ahead and we'll share it with the rest of our audience. So, by the way, we are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitter. Actually, no, we're not live on Facebook. We are live on TikTok, though, and Rumble. The reason why we've opted not to do live on YouTube is we've been having some issues with the software that we use called Restream. Been having some issues with the videos cutting off on when we do the original from Facebook. So we do a rebroadcast at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, the same time we release the video or release the content out via all of our podcasts, Spotify, all of that. So unfortunately, if you're watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, we're not live there. But like I said, we are on TikTok. That's right. The Chinese spies are sending out our stuff. We're trying to infiltrate their spy network. That's what we're trying to do. It's counter-op. That's what we'll call it. It's like, is that a word? Where is Mike when you need him? Because I don't even know if that's a thing. Well, if it is a thing, if it's not a thing, we're gonna make it a thing here at The Rundown. So let's go ahead and let's get into the program. But before we do, you know what we do, and that is we start with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. That's Hitman Industries. You can, if you go there, if you go to the website, hitmanindustries.net, you can buy the best in barrels, whether they be pistol caliber or whether they be rifle caliber, any length that you could want. They are the place to go to find your barrels. If you've purchased an AR in the last few years, chances are you already have one of their barrels. So why not get another one? Whether you're looking to do a rebuild or a brand new build, or rebarrel your current rifle or brand new build, go ahead and check them out today. That's hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Just check them out today at cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters on the market. You can find them at hogholsters.com. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and you will get a discount on us. By the way, also want to remind you, it's Hog Holsters, HAWG Holsters. It's helping Americans wear guns.com. And then finally, if you are a purchaser for your unit, for your military unit, maybe you're the purchaser for your club, maybe you are a purchaser for your department. Look, if you're looking for a discount, the place to go. If you're looking for a quality product, let me tell you, the place to go. If you're looking for great customer service, let me tell you, the place to go is uscombatgear.com. They have great pricing. They have a huge selection. They have phenomenal pricing and great customer service. Veteran owned and operated. uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get in now. Now we'll go ahead and get into today's news. Now, you're hearing a lot of pushback, a lot of people talking about what's going on with USAID. That's right. I do not call it USAID because it's not about aid. That's the thing that no one on the left will tell you. They'll want to make you believe. And if you listen to the left, you'll believe that we are ending all foreign aid to all countries, which, by the way, in the eyes of many is not a bad thing. But USAID has always been about, for lack of a better term, propaganda. It's been about supporting regimes and supporting American interests abroad, right? That's all it's been about. The things that are supposed to be funded by USAID are not about being humanitarian. It's about being utilitarian, right? That means about making sure that we're defending the United States interests. Well, turns out that the Biden administration, maybe the Biden administration had very different understanding of what USAID was supposed to be or what American interests are. Because as is being reported by our friends over at the Washington Free Beacon, ex-USAID official says Biden ditched vetting reforms as his administration steered grants towards terrorist supporters. Vast sums of money, of U.S. money, have been diverted to fund terrorists in Gaza, Syria, Yemen, and Afghanistan, says Marks Primorak. There you go. The Biden administration ditched the first Trump administration's U.S. Agency for International Development vetting reforms and went on to send vast sums of U.S. money to Middle Eastern countries that ended up in the hands of terrorists. A former senior USAID official told Congress on Wednesday. Max Primorak, USAID's former acting chief operating officer, said he pushed for a stronger vetting process for grants going to countries linked to terrorism under the first Trump administration. The Biden administration ditched those processes, he said. Quote, I approved strong vetting policies for humanitarian assistance in countries swarming with terrorists. That, too, was ignored by the Biden administration. Primorak, now a Heritage Foundation senior research fellow, said during a subcommittee on delivering on government efficiency hearing on foreign aid. He added that the vast sums of U.S. money have been diverted to fund terrorists in Gaza, Syria, Yemen, and Afghanistan, and that NGOs have been hit with heavy fines for violating our anti-terrorism laws. Now, I wish I could say that this was new, that we believed that this was new, but we now know, that we knew that this was happening. But now we know that the Trump administration actually had put things in place, had put together a vetting process to make sure that this wouldn't happen. Now, evidently, those things were not codified in law. Evidently, Congress did not pass those things, those processes, because the Biden administration came in and just ignored them, threw them out, said, vetting? We don't need no stinking vetting. And they decided to send money to places where they knew terrorists would wind up getting it. And I say they knew because they were warned. They were warned by USAID staff. In fact, the chief operating officer told them that that was going to happen. And it did. And now here we are. Right now, here we are. We know, once again, we're looking at people who are angry at Doge, or because they're saying that USAID needs to basically be defunded. Well, why do you think it needs to be defunded? My question is, how much of that money went to help pay for the terrorist operations that happened on October 7th? How much of that money went into the terrorist tunnels that were used to hide hostages and hide terrorists? How much of that was used to pay for rockets that have been launched into Israel? How much of that went to organizations or went into entities that were attacking international shipping lanes? American money to terrorists. But USAID should not be shut down. That's what they would tell you. Well, I'm sorry. If you have an organization that, number one, is funding a bunch of nonsensical stuff that most Americans clearly would not support, and I'll continue to say it, like transgender festivals in Brazil, and by the way, I still haven't seen evidence of $50 million in condoms going to Gaza. But I have seen $15 million in contraceptives going to the Middle East or to Afghanistan. I have seen that. That has been verified. I still don't think the American people are down with that or in support of that. Anyway, in any case, what we're looking at here, though, is a clear abuse of U.S. taxpayer dollars. And it was abused because the Biden administration decided anything Trump bad, and we want to undo anything by the mean guy named Trump. So if he had a vetting process, that vetting process clearly was racist. Clearly it was hateful. It must have been Nazi-filled. And that's the reason why we're going to ignore it. And so they did. And as a result, terrorism was funded with U.S. dollars. Do we have any doubt of that? Anybody doubt that? Does anybody here doubt that that happened? Nope. Nobody doubts it. Of course you don't. Why would you? Because we know it happened. Because we know how incompetent, and incompetent is the best way to put it, incompetent the Biden administration has been. And like I said, I said this when I was on the news last night doing a show. I said, look, the thing is that this is the stuff we're uncovering from the small agencies and entities. Wait until they're done with the IRS. Wait until they're done with the entitlement programs. Wait until they're done with the Department of Defense. You're going to see, and people are going to be very, very angry because they're fiefdoms. And when I say they're fiefdoms, I'm specifically talking to those governmental bureaucrats who've built up a fiefdom utilizing taxpayer dollars. As they are held accountable, people are going to call them out. They're going to be called out, and they're going to be held to account. And this is why Donald Trump was elected. And that's the reason why the American people support what he's doing. Now, you'll see polls that say they don't like it. Right? But what I found is, is that when you look at the questions that are asked, they might say, well, do you believe that Doge should have access to sensitive taxpayer data and information? That's when you start seeing people like, yeah, I don't know about that. But do they believe that there should be an agency looking into waste, fraud, and abuse? Most people believe that. Overwhelming majority of people believe that. Are you happy with the stuff that they have revealed? They'll be like, no, I'm not happy with it. Meaning that money should have never been spent in the way in which it's been spent. And just so you know, that was under Republican administrations too. That money was being spent. So this is nothing new. It's just no one's really taken a look at it the way in which Doge is taking a look at it. And once again, the American people's interest is being protected. All right, that now brings us to our second story, which is racist Dems ask who's going to pick our crops. And, I'll tell you, this is the biggest thing. I know you're wondering, like, what are you talking about? Well, keep in mind, back when slavery was being debated in the late 1840s, early 1850s, before the Civil War, one of the biggest things that the Democrats continue to say was, well, if we get rid of slaves, who's going to pick our cotton? Well, now, how many of you have seen the memes on Facebook or the people posting on Facebook saying, well, once we get rid of the illegal immigrants or illegal aliens, who's going to pick our crops? Right? You've seen them ask these questions as if it's not racist for them to ask that, right? You've seen the politicians out giving speeches asking as much.
Refuse to let Donald Trump and his unelected billionaire buddy Elon Musk, who conveniently seems to have forgotten that he was an undocumented immigrant as well. I refuse to let them scapegoat and target immigrants. I want to be very clear about something. The only reason they keep doing this is because they want to distract you from the fact that they are stealing your taxpayer dollars, your benefits, your programs, so they can give a $4.5 trillion tax cut to the billionaires. They want you to blame immigrants. They want you to criminalize immigrants. We need to focus on the greedy billionaires and make them pay their fair share. We can't let them continue their lies and their distractions. We can't let them deport the millions of families across this country who have been doing the work that keeps our economy going every day. We can't let them scapegoat and criminalize immigrants who contribute, who are our neighbors, our friends, our churchgoers, our community around us that we deeply love. Immigrants are us. Immigrants are us, and we all deserve respect and dignity. If you look at the food that's on your table, think about who picked it. If you look at your homes, think about who built them. If you look at your vulnerable elders and your kids, think about who's taking care of them.
So, in other words, we need cheap labor. Who's going to provide this cheap labor? Who's going to pick our vegetables? Who's going to undercut American tradesmen in the construction industry and build your homes? Who's going to do that? Who are we going to have that we're going to pay pennies on the dollar to take care of our children and our elderly? They literally want they want a cheap workforce. Let's see. What was the last time we did that? Oh, yeah, that was called slavery. And that's exactly what Jayapal is talking about right there. That's exactly who she is talking about. And that, by the way, you'll see here, this is a story. This is where I pulled the video, by the way, from Fox News. That is Pramila Jayapal, who is a member of the squad, who is basically a neo-Marxist leftist. She is we'll just call her an American hater because she is most definitely a hater of these United States of America. But let's be clear. And I had to make this clarification last night too. We're not talking about additional tax cuts when you talk about the $4.5 billion. What we're talking about is an extension of the Trump tax cuts. You know, the tax cuts that every taxpayer got. Now, people want to complain because they're like, well, half the country didn't get those tax cuts. Do you know why half the country didn't get those tax cuts? Because they don't pay federal taxes. Yes, half the country does not pay federal income tax. So yeah, they didn't. You don't. That's what a tax cut is, right? If a tax cut says if you pay that tax, if you pay federal income tax, then you get a federal income tax cut, right? Now, if you pay a little bit in federal income tax, your taxes are only going to go down a little bit because guess what? You already pay a little bit. But if you pay a lot, chances are you're going to get back a lot. And by the way, every study shown when you look at it showed that most people, every single taxpayer benefited. I am not a wealthy man, and I remember when they went through. I remember it was a difference of about $200 a month for me. About, $2,400 in a year, $2,500 in a year, right around there. That was a significant difference for me. That made a difference for me. That was my cell phone bill for me, my wife, and my family. Right? It made a difference. But see, they want you to believe that by the way, they want you to believe the billionaires don't pay their fair share when the top 1% pay 40% of all federal income taxes. That's right. 40% of all federal income taxes are paid by the top 1%. The top 10% pay something like, I want to say 40%. No, I'm sorry. The top 1% pay 10%. The top 10% pay something like 40% of all taxes. Half of the people who earn income in this country do not pay any federal income tax. But she doesn't believe they're paying their fair share. Right. No. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that one. I'm not buying that one at all, madame. But once again, just want to be clear. These are racist Democrats who are pushing this stuff, right? Because they believe that we should have a permanent labor underclass. That's what they want. That's what they're begging for. You heard the word she just said. That's where they're at. She wants them working in unsafe working conditions, right? She wants them to be getting less of a wage. Because, well, hey, that's how we're going to keep things cheap. Because, well, that's who they are. Anyway, moving right along. DNC project to end disinformation shares fake video. Or not, sorry, it wasn't a video. I misrepresented that one. It was an audio that they had sent. It was an audio that they had sent out. This once again from our friends over at the Washington Free Beacon. DNC operation to combat online misinformation spreads fabricated audio of Donald Trump Jr. calling to arm Russia. After President Donald Trump's electoral victory in November, the Democratic National Committee launched a rapid response social media account, Fact Post, to combat online misinformation. On Wednesday, the account published fabricated audio known as a deepfake of Donald Trump Jr. calling on the United States to arm Russia in its war against Ukraine. Fact Post posted audio on Twitter of Trump Jr. ostensibly speaking about the Ukraine-Russia war on his podcast, Triggered. In the clip, the computer-generated Trump Jr. said he, quote, honestly can't imagine anyone in their right mind picking Ukraine as an ally. Honestly, the U.S. should have been sending weapons to Russia, the fake First Son says. It's unclear who created the deepfake. Two accounts with large followings, Visgrad24 and Polymarket, posted it earlier Wednesday. Fact Post and groups like Republicans Against Trump posted it later that day, citing it as evidence that the administration favors Russia in the war against Ukraine. Some social media users quickly called the audio into question, noting that the Triggered podcast website did not have the episode featured in the tweets. Let's see if I can get this audio playing for you. Okay, yeah, I can. Unfortunately, I cannot get the audio to play for you. But anyway, it basically says what I just told you it said. And I heard the audio somewhere else. But, you know, and I got to tell you, and this is one of the things that I've been really doubly focused on. And, you know, I had sent out a social media post not too long ago because I kept coming across these memes. I kept coming across these links or whatever of stuff that was clearly and obvious. I'm like, you know, this doesn't sound right. And I before I share it, I wanted to make sure that I looked into it and made sure that it was something that I wanted to make sure that it was accurate. Make sure that it was something that that it wasn't something that was in fact a fake, right? Because you know, that stuff happens. People do stuff like that. Here's the matter of fact. Here's the post that I sent out. It says, unless you want to promote disinformation, please take a moment to fact check links and memes before posting them. That was basically what I had posted. Anyway, because more and more you're finding that some of the stuff out there is just fake. When you see a story that is something that is like, oh my God, I can't believe that they're doing this. Do yourself a favor. Go and check and see if anyone else of credibility is reporting on this. In this particular thing, what they could have done was they could have gone to the website and checked Triggered. Is there an episode with this name on it, right? That has the same name. Is there anything? Can you find this audio at their website? But see, it was completely in line with what they wanted people to believe, with what they believed Donald Trump Jr. was all about, and what they wanted people to believe that Donald Trump Jr. was all about. And so because it fit their narrative, it didn't matter whether or not it was true. It didn't matter whether or not it was fake. All they cared about was, I can get it out there, and once I get it out there, the lie will be halfway around the globe before the truth even gets its pants on. But that's how they roll. Truth does not matter to the left. They don't care about the truth. I had a friend of mine on the left today sent me a thing showing me a receipt where he paid $100 to fill up his truck, saying, "Oh man, I thought Trump was going to make things cheaper for us. Man, where's Doge at now?" And the first thing that I did was I sent him an image that was that I took, a photo that I took when I was in Florida over the weekend, because now gas in California, even at a cheap place, is somewhere around $4.90 a gallon. I sent him a link. I sent him the image that I had taken, where gas was $2.89 in Florida. And then I also sent him a link to a website that talked about why gas prices were so high in California. And it specifically pointed to the reasons why they were so high in California, and they were all because of California policy. He said, "I don't care. I blame the Republicans." They don't care about the truth. The truth does not matter to the left. They will lie, and they won't believe. The problem is some people will put out the truth. Like this guy Ken is not a guy. I'm sorry, I said his name. Oops. Sorry, dude. He's not a guy who would lie. He is a guy who will believe and repeat the lie because it supports his narrative. That's his problem. That's my issue with many of you on the left. It's not that you lie. It's not that I believe that you are a liar. It's just that because the lie fits your narrative, you will ignore the truth. Even when it's put right in front of your face, you will ignore the truth. And that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, but that thar be who you be. Let's talk about another lie. Another lie that's been told here about the state of California that specifically has to do with California policy. Now, when the $20 minimum wage for fast food workers was put in place, or before it was put in place, Republicans and the business community talked about how it's going to cost jobs. How do we know it's going to cost jobs? Because it's economics 101. If you increase the cost of a thing, demand for that thing goes down, right? If you increase the cost of labor, in this case artificially, the demand for that labor goes down, right? And that's exactly what happened when it comes to that's exactly the issue with minimum wages. Minimum wages are price floors for labor, and it creates a shortage of the number of available jobs based on the number of people who are looking for them, right? It just does, because there's not enough money out there. Anyway, or there's not enough resources. Anyway, there's not enough people who have the resources to be able to provide those jobs. That's what I was looking for. In any case, after it happened, after it went through, we said it again. We said, look for it to happen. And in fact, it did. Although the left lied, they're like, well, no, wait. The number of jobs actually went up. Well, no, in fact, it went up, but it went up in an area where the number of fast food jobs always increased. But in this particular case, this particular year, it increased at a fraction of the number or a fraction of the rate that it normally increases. And then later we find out, after the real jobs numbers come out, it didn't increase at a fraction rate. It actually went down. The number of fast food jobs available actually went down. And the media on the left completely ignored it. Completely and utterly ignored it. The unions said, nope, that's fake news. That's not true. And now we know that the folks over at SEIU, the Marxist union that helped to push this, well, now SEIU researchers admit $20 wage law caused fast food job losses. This by Katie Grimes, over at the editor over at the California Globe, writes, last week the Globe reported on a new study by the Berkeley Research Group admitting that California's $20 minimum wage for fast food workers has led to job losses, higher food prices, and increased automation in the industry. The BRG study found, quote, California's fast food restaurants lost 10,700 jobs between June 2023 and June 2024, making it the worst performing year outside of a recession and the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, food prices at local restaurants have increased 14.5% since the legislation was signed, nearly double the national average. Employment Policy Institute, EPI, which has consistently reported on the economic devastation by the $20 minimum wage for fast food workers, weighs in on the study by SIU. Weighs in the study by the SEIU. The EPI notes the evidence is from an unexpected source, the same labor union that pushed the $20 policy. Quote, EPI has been a leading voice on the consequences of the law, releasing multiple reports based on government data that show states' $20 minimum wage is costing jobs. In the attempt to cover up the consequences, unions have supported biased researchers who are supportive of $20. In July, the Globe reported that fast food franchise owners were already experiencing store closures, layoffs, cutting back on employee hours, and even considering moving out of state. In a survey conducted by the Employees Policies Institute of 200 fast food companies, 89% of those eateries already had been forced to reduce scheduled hours for their employees. The survey found 98% of California fast food restaurants said they raised menu prices, 89% reduced employee hours, 73% limited employee shifts or overtime, 70% reduced staff or consolidated positions. In their latest report, EPI says that SEIU's research team acknowledges a, quote, negative employment effect, end quote, from the $20 minimum wage, which translate to some 4,000 jobs lost. While the figure is at the low end of the other data sources' estimate, it is a shocking confirmation that SEIU Newsom's $20 minimum wage law has hurt workers. In other words, they finally admitted it. They won't admit how much, but they acknowledge that it did. Now, keep in mind what it said. Number one, people lost their jobs. Number two, those that kept their jobs got their hours cut. Number three, a lot of the people who lost their jobs were replaced by automation. I can't even begin to tell you. I told a story to Mike one time about how I walked into Popeyes, to get me some heathen chicken. And I go up to the counter and they're like, oh, you have to go order at the kiosk. What? Yeah, I had to go order at the kiosk because they didn't take orders anymore. Right? And it can't even be legitimately called fast food anymore because it wasn't fast. I had to wait for my food. It taught me a lesson. That lesson was go ahead and order your food early. Order your food via the app so that it'll be ready when you get there. That's what I learned. And now, oh, by the way, did I forget to mention that things cost more now? Yeah, I was just over in Florida. And I'll tell you right now, we did get us some McDonald's while we were there. And it was significantly cheaper than it was here. Put it to you this way. Two of us ate for a little over $10. One person could barely eat here on a meal at McDonald's for $10. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is completely and utterly ridiculous. And it's nice that they finally admitted that what it's done. But are you going to undo it? Are you going to reduce it? Are you going to take it back? I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. But, you don't really care about workers. And that's what they're saying. That's what they're telling you. They don't care about workers. They don't care about people who are on minimum wage. They don't care about low-income people who now have to pay the higher prices that come from this thing. They don't care. They just don't care. Anyway. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. You may or may not know this, but federal unions are throwing a fit. And our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust, have put together a list. This is a list. These are the federal employee union's list of 10 demands to the Trump administration. These are things that federal employees are like, this is what you're going to do, because they believe Trump is actually going to do what they want. Right. Okay. Brought to you by the Institute for the American Worker. Okay. Number 1, employees will no longer be required to show up on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, or weekends. Showing up is an unreasonable expectation for a government employee. Okay. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay. Number 2. All right, paid leave for the emotional trauma of being asked to work. The trauma is very real. Yes, evidently it is real. Paid travel expenses for trips from living room to home. From living room to home, to home office. I'm sorry. Should have read the whole thing. Sometimes you need a snack on the way. Who's going to pay for that? Number 4, thinking about works counts, obviously. So in other words, if you got to think about work, yeah, you should get paid for it. No one can lose their job for any reason, even if they die. Well, evidently that appears to be a policy based on the number of people over the age of 100 that are still on Social Security rolls. Documentary cameras follow everyone around so employees can make that face at the camera like Jim from The Office. Okay, I kind of like that one, to be honest. We've always wanted to do that. I kind of like that one. I wouldn't mind documentary camera following them around. Personal locksmith to follow each employee around, just in case. I don't know what that's all about. Break room must contain Mr. Coffee and Mrs. Coffee because gender equality is non-negotiable. Tell us we are pretty. Please, just once, because they want to be told they're pretty. Okay. Trump must be tarred and feathered, then resign. In their eyes, that is a relatively simple ask. Wow. Okay. Well, gotta love those federal employees, huh? Once again, that is fake news that you can trust from our good friends over at the Babylon Bee. That now brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length at hitmanindustries.net. The California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out today at cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then you got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters on the market. You'll find them at hogholsters.com. That's helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, you can find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's program. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back, hopefully, tomorrow. That will be on Friday, Free For All Friday. We'll have a good time. I hope you will join us. We will talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.